main UI group we had to take as a linear layout first. The main UI group we had to take as what? The linear layout we had to take the first main UI group. Okay. Then after this, let's specify the width and height. We specify the width and height is match parent by match parent. Occupy the entire screen width and screen height. Then after that, we had to apply attribute called orientation is attribute. And I want to design the UI in vertical format. I want to design the UI. So width is match parent, height is match parent, orientation we applied as a vertical is the orientation I applied. In a vertical format, I want to present the UI. So then after this linear layout, or inside the linear layout, inside this linear layout, first we'll create a one more linear layout we'll create. Width is match parent, but see here, the height of this linear layout is what? We want to occupy 10% of the screen you want to occupy. This linear layout you want to occupy 10% of the screen you want to occupy. So we had to apply the weight property, had to apply here. So if you want to apply the weight property in height, if you want to apply the weight property in height, if you want to apply, first make it 0 dp. First make it what? 0 dp. Then after that you can apply the weight property, you can apply. Weight is equals to 0.1. And what is the orientation for this linear layout? This linear layout orientation is horizontal is a orientation. The first row, basically. The first row we are creating. This row is we want to occupy 10% of the screen, and the orientation is horizontal. This is a linear layout. Then after this, we had to create what? A WebView component had to create. After this linear layout, we had to create a WebView component had to create. Width is match parent, height is 0 dp, and the weight is what? Weight is 0.1 is a weight. Weight is equals to 0.1 is a weight. And we require this component we required into Java code. Let's configure the ID for this. The ID I configured as WebView1 is the ID I configured. We require this WebView component we required in our activity code. So we configured the ID we configured @ plus ID slash WebView1 is the ID I configured. Okay. And below the WebView component, I want to create one more linear layout I want to create. Width is match parent and height is 0 dp. Height is what? 0 dp, and I want to apply the weight property I want to apply for this. Want to apply the weight property I want to apply. Is a weight. So what is the orientation for this? Orientation is horizontal is the orientation for this one. Okay. Now let's see the design here. First we created the 3 UI components we created. First thing is the linear layout we created, occupy 10% of the height. A WebView component occupy 80% of the height. Yeah. WebView occupy 80% of the screen. Then after that linear layout 0.1. Okay. So select this design. Select the design and see how it will display on the screen. So sometimes you'll get the rendering issues. Just change the theme attribute here. So we created a WebView component we created. On top of the WebView component, 10% of the screen we created for linear layout. And in the bottom of the screen, the linear layout we created what? Again, 10% of the screen we created for the bottom UI components. Okay. Now in this linear layout, the header linear layout, horizontal orientation, 80% of the screen we want to create for that edit text component, and 20% of the screen we want to create for that button, search button. So here, in the first linear layout, the first row, we had to create one edit text component. We had to create edit text component. I'm specifying width is equals to 0 dp. Width is equals to what? 0 dp, and height I'm specifying as wrap content. I'm specifying width is 0 dp. Height I'm specifying as what? Wrap content is a height. You can specify as match parent. You can specify match parent means what? What is the parent for this edit text component? Parent for this edit text component is nothing but this linear layout. How much space is specified in the height for this one? 10% of the screen. Meaning how much space is occupied for this linear layout, occupy that much of space for this edit text component also. Okay. So 0 dp match parent. So now it is showing error because was you applied, we made it as 0 dp, so you had to apply the weight property, had to apply. So weight is equals to 0.8 is a weight. Okay. And further this component we record into Java code, so we'll configure the id, will configure for this one. Id is et1 is id I configured. For this edit text component, what is id I configured? Et1 is the id I configured. Next, beside this edit text, beside the edit text component, I want to create one button. I want to create beside this edit text component. Beside the edit text, I want to create what? One button I want to create. Here also same thing. Make it width is equals to 0 dp and height as match parent. And what is the weight property you want to apply? Weight is equals to 0.2 is a weight. Weight is equals to 0.2 is a weight. And what is the text you want to display on the button? Text is equals to, I want to display this text I want to display. Sorry, it's an image will take rather than a button, will take as the image view component. There is a component called image view is one of the UI component, image view. And let's specify the src here, meaning the image. Which image you want to display? Let's specify the image by using an attribute called src is an attribute. Specify at drawable slash, specify the image name. Which image you want to display? The HTML logo, search logo. HTML, a search logo, image view component we created. Okay, this is a linear layout. We created edit text component, and beside this we created an image view component we created. And below the linear layout we created what? One WebView component we created. Not HTML logo, search logo it is. A search button. Then after that we created a WebView component we created, and in the bottom linear layout we want to create total how many image view components? 5 image view components is right. 4 image view components is required. Width is 0 dp and height is what? Height match parent. You can apply the match parent, occupy the entire screen. But in place of width, we want to apply the four UI components you want to create the same size. That's why I'm applying the weight property I'm applying. So first make it 0 dp. First apply the weight property, make it 0 dp and specify the image, which image you want to display here. src is equals to add drawable Facebook icon. Like this total we had to create how many image view components? 4. So one is we created Facebook icon, Google logo, next. So YouTube, and HTML. YouTube and HTML. Okay, now see the design here, how it will display on the screen. Select the design. Why the bottom layout is not displayed? Sorry, weight we are not applied. Width we applied 0 dp and weight we had applied, right? Weight is equals to 0.25 is the weight. Okay, so select the design, show you how it will display on the screen. So all the 4 UI components you will get with the same sizes. Because we applied a weight property, we applied. You don't need to worry about the screen resolution. You don't need to worry about the screen resolution if you apply the weight property. Whatever it may be, the screen resolution. Now you can install this app in any resolution you can install. In all the resolutions, you will get the same UI you will get. The UI will not be disturbed if you apply the weight property. If you want, just run the application and see how it is displaying on the real devices. It's loading still. See, the app is installed and we got the same UI we got. Edit text component and a search button, web view component, and these are the four components we created. So now you don't need to worry about the resolution and the screen sizes. In all the resolutions, in all the screen sizes, you'll get the same UI you will get. The UI will not be disturbed. Okay? Okay. Now let's write the logic for this one. When user clicks the search button, whatever the URL user is given here, display that particular URL on the web view component. When user clicks the Facebook button, display a Facebook page. When user clicks the Google button, display a Google page and YouTube page. Okay. So this logic will write. This logic will write now. So first let's configure the IDs and on-click event for all these attributes. For this imagery component, let's configure the ID for this. Let's configure the ID for this. ID for this one is search is ID configured. I configured the ID I configured. What is ID I configured? Search is ID I configured. And let's configure the click event also. On click is equals to test I specified. I configured an ID I configured. I configured what? An ID I configured. ID is search is ID. And I configured the click event I configured. What is the method name I specified? Test is a method name I specified. Like this, you have to configure for all the buttons will configure. The click event will configure. For Facebook button, let's take ID is equals to FP. I'm specifying. And on click is equals to test. Method name is same. Method name will not change. Just we are changing the IDs. We are changing here. On click is equals to test. ID is equals to I'm specifying Google is ID. On click is equals to test and Google is the ID for this component. And on click is equals to test. What is ID for this? YouTube is ID. On click is equals to test and ID I configured as what? HTML is ID I configured. HTML is the ID I configured. Now select this design. So we created UI components we created and even we configured the IDs also we configured for these UI components. We configured what? The IDs also we configured for these UI components. We configured the IDs we configured. Okay. Okay. We configured the click event. We configured for all these things. YouTube, HTML, and all. What is the on click event we configured? Test is a method name. So we had to create this test method. We had to create in the activity class. So in your activity, let's create a method called test is a method. Public void test is a method name, which is taking the view object as the input parameter. Public void test is a method name. Test is a method name which is taking the view object as a input parameter. Test is a method name. Okay. Now for all these buttons we configured the same method name we configured. On click is equals to search. On click is equals to Facebook. On click is equals to Google. For all these buttons we configured the same method name we configured. On click is equals to what? Test. Meaning if you click any button out of these 5 buttons, if you click any button, it's going to call the test method is going to call. How will you recognize that one? Whether you got a request from Facebook button or Google button or the search button? Based on the ID. Based on the ID, we'll recognize from which component we got the request. Whether you got a request from Facebook button or Google button or search button, from which button you got the request, the ID is going to give that information. First, what we'll do is, from the XML file, get the WebView component into your activity code. In XML file, we create a WebView component we created in XML. Let's get the WebView component into your activity code. So WebView is equals to WebView of, what is the method name? Find view by ID is the method. Specify the ID of that particular component, r.id.webview1. r.id.webview1. So first get the WebView component from your activity XML file. Get the WebView component from activity XML file. Okay. And when user clicks a test button, when user click any button, it's going to call the test method. Maybe a search button or Google button, YouTube button. If you click any button, we are calling the same method we are calling. Called test method we are calling. So now we'll identify here whether you got a request from Facebook or Google or LinkedIn or from which button you got a request. We'll identify in this test method. Let's write the logic here. Let's take a switch case. Switch v dot get id. v dot get id. Switch v dot get id, meaning get the ID of the UI component. So from which button you configure the click event, get the ID of that particular UI component. If the case is r.id.facebook, we are telling if the request from Facebook button. So what is the action you want to perform? Let's write the logic here. There are multiple cases are there. That's why I'm taking a switch case. I'm taking here. Okay, in the switch, if it is from Facebook, if it is from Google, if it is from HTML, and if it is from YouTube, if it is from YouTube, and if it is from HTML, and the last thing is what? Search. Last thing is what? Search. We configured the click event we configured. Test is a method name we specified. Test is a method name we specified. So if you configure, if you click any button, it may be a Facebook, Google, or YouTube, or any button, it will call this test method. It will call. It will call what? The test method. It will call. Okay. When user clicks the search button, I want to display that particular web page. I want to display on the WebView component. When user clicks the search button, I want to display that particular web page. I want to display on the WebView component. I want to display. So here, let's get the data from the edit text components. Edit text. Edit text of, what is the method name? Find UI ID. Specify the ID of the particular UI component. r.id.et1. We got the WebView component. We got. Okay. And when user clicks the search button, first we are getting that URL we are getting from the user. What is the URL user is entered in the text box, and webview dot there is a method called load URL is a method. Specify the URL address here. et1 dot get text of toString. We configure the click event we configured for all the buttons, and we configure the same method name we are configuring for all the buttons. So based on the ID, we are recognizing from which button you got the request. If the request is from search button, first we are getting the data we are getting from the edit text component, we are getting the data. We are getting the data from edit text component, we are getting the data, and webview.load URL, specify that particular URL address. Okay, now let's run the application and see. Let's run the application. I want to install the app in Samsung device. I want to install the app. But one small change, that is nothing but we are accessing the internet we are accessing. We are accessing internet we are accessing from our application. So if you want to access internet, if you want to access in manifest.xml file, we had to add a permission we had to add here. If you are accessing internet, if you are accessing in your application, we had to add a permission we had to add in manifest.xml, that is users permission android colon name is equals to internet. This manifest.xml file. Then only we can access internet. Otherwise, we cannot access internet. We cannot access. Okay, let's run the app now. So you got the output we got. Let's specify the URL here. whatever the URL you want to display, let's specify the URL. Its HTTP is mandatory here. HTTP is mandatory. HTTP, and specify whatever the URL you want to display. This HTTP is mandatory. Okay. So given the URL again. So remember, while you are giving the URL, you have to give the what? Include the HTTP declaration also. Okay. When you click on this search button, when you click on the search button, see that particular web page is displaying on the WebView component. That particular web page is displaying on the WebView component is displaying. When user clicks the search button, it is displaying that particular web page. It is displaying on the WebView component. It is displaying that particular web page. Okay, this is the first one. So specify the URL here, which web page you want to display, and when you click the search button, it will display that particular web page. It will display on the WebView component. It will display that particular web page. Okay, this is what? This is the WebView component for displaying the particular web pages. Okay, let's work on up to this, and in the next session, I'll explain you these things, like what will happen if you click the Facebook button. Okay, how to display a Facebook page, how to display Google HTML, and all the things we'll discuss in the next session. We'll discuss. Okay, so what? Just practice this weight property and try to design the user interface like how I design by applying the weight properties. Okay, initially complete this one. Then after that, in the next session, so we'll discuss these things. We'll discuss Facebook, Google, YouTube, and HTML. Okay. So tomorrow is Sunday, and Sunday also I'll take the session. Okay. So tomorrow also I want to take the session, and we'll complete this WebView component. We'll complete tomorrow session. Okay. So any queries? So let me know if you have any queries. So if you don't have any queries, send me a no at least, so that I'll understand. Yeah.